I'm going to be reading from a book-length poem titled Ben Dorain, A Conversation with a Mountain. It draws in part from an 18th century Gaelic poem by Duncan Ban MacIntyre, which is usually titled in English In Praise of Ben Dorain. MacIntyre's poem is a hymn in praise of a mountain in the West Highlands and its herd of red deer, and draws on the pibroch bagpipe music for its rhythms and its patterns. My poem combines a free translation of MacIntyre's Gaelic with my own original words, which draw from ecological science, from the politics of land use, from mythology, and from other fields which embellish or contradict or excavate meanings in MacIntyre's original. It's a conversation between a 250-year-old poem and the modern world. The poem is about a landscape, but the poem is also, in a sense, a landscape itself. As I'm reading, I want you to imagine being surrounded by the sights and the sounds and the light and the movement of the hill. I'm going to read 4 sections. The first section, which is almost like an overture to the themes which carry on through the rest of the poem, and then the final 3 sections. Ben Dorain, A Conversation with a Mountain. Part 1, Ground. How does it begin? With the piper's drone, with the coarse fabric of the land in greens and greys and purples, the lines of hoof and song that cross it. Landscape is pibroch, the drone never silent, never still, then fingered notes soar up over the moor. Of all the high places, I praise Ben Dorain. In beauty she towers over other bens. I can't get enough of her. Look with me at the graceful sweep of land where the deer hold court, at the woods, those grassy groves where they browse, kingdom of cuckoo, wren and chaffinch, at the mountain's gleaming face. Look at the white-rumped team with the hunt in pursuit. They catch news on the wind and are gone. Over there is a stag who knows his mind, a deep one who doesn't need to brag. He cuts a fine figure at home in his own skin, that summer coat of rich, unfading red like a royal seal. This is the ground, the theme of the hill's great music, laid down in layers like lacquer, like myth, like the work of a wasp on its paper nest. If the hill could listen to itself, would it hear at the pace that lichen grows? Would it be tuned to the slow, dark mouths of moss on stone? Here is Ben Dorain. Deer in their generations come and go with their rituals of sedge and dwarf willow. Wolves are here, and in the downward inch of a boulder, they're gone. Volcanoes echo, and now there's man. This is what you need to kill a stag. A rifle that's in working order. A marksman in his prime, someone who knows how to pull a trigger. The gun should have a good notched flint screwed firm into the hammer, a cock that strikes true against the frizzen plate, an 8-sided barrel you can trust, a gun stock of unblemished walnut that fits snug against the shoulder. This way you'll fell the most agile stag, but you need a real craftsman, a specialist in deer, one who'll succeed in spite of them, a subtle hunter. Like the peregrine who, enthroned on her thermals, circles her prey, unseen, unheard, calibrating wind speed, pressure, rock dove velocity. She focuses on the apex of its wings, which look to her as if they're a heartbeat away, until she decides that everything is right. She folds back her wings and stoops, and with her talons foremost strikes a kill. I saw a deer drive once. There was a team of lads and dogs with Patrick in the glen conducting them. A chorus of shot, the dogs driven on, and a hind of the high hill brought down. Part 6, Rut. Years later, I still think of them. Glorious, a gallus team striding forth in the flesh of the moment, assembling to jostle and clatter up the cliffs. Between the moor with the naked birch and the mouth of Fortress Corrie, they carry themselves like lords. Outside commerce, outside property law, the land is theirs and they serve it. This is their paradise enclosed by hills. They wander up the sides of Bracken Corrie, thread through the pass to the field of hard water, the plain we used to call Wolf's Garden. They browse at Willow Crag, roam the northern slopes where two ridges run together like the cloven halves of a hoof. On the high moor, where the autumn tides of grass usher in the rut, the hinds are parading, a matriarchal tribe who tolerate the stags for 6 weeks in a year. The thrill of the season is on them. The stag is hefted to a moving territory, his harem in the hills. They sport with each other, bound over moorland and moss. When a hind strays, the stag brings her back. When she slows, he lowers his head and tries to lay his coarse chin on her rump. Too early in estrus, she races off. They charge through bogs. He rakes the ground, one antler at a time, and pisses in the wallow pool. He fills his lungs with its bittery citric musk. He rolls until his coat and the earth and the whole glen, if he could, are penetrated with his presence. She becomes aroused. The stag, like a master of wine, noses her vulva, takes a sip of her on his tongue, draws back his upper lip to better taste her readiness. They're a carnival of desire. He licks her head, her neck, the base of her tail. She rubs her whole length along his ribs, working towards his rear until she makes to mount him. Ben Dorain hosts a bacchanal. Now he mounts her, she stands. He mounts her, she stands. He mounts her, she stands. He mounts her, she stands in the infinity of herself, the countless interwoven trails of all that she is. Gladness, lust, the sense of rut, textures of fur and grass in the gut, pebble in a hoof, iron in the blood, the weight of the stag as he mounts and he thrusts. And at last she'll stand in the queerness of pregnancy, one body antlering into two. The part of us that's dear satisfies its thirst on the slopes below Congregation Hill, where Anetburn, the stream of the chapel of an unknown saint, brings its heather-honeyed water, the hill's holy wine, into the glen, glistening, gushing, quickening, filtering as it flows over its gravel bed, sweeter than cinnamon, richer than cloves. Sometimes, Duncan Ban, you'd think that you couldn't sleep without the whispering songs of the burns of Ben Dorain, the soft red noise of your soul. But for more than half your life, you heard only carts on cobbled streets, the curfew beat upon guardsmen's drums, the endless repeating anthems of economic growth. And it rises deep inside the earth, a never-failing tonic, abundant wealth that can't be traded. It flows between the arms of the land's most majestic hills. Listen, the clear, flowing water, gentle flavoured, clear-headed water, bubbling and surging its way downhill from the shady springs nestled in watercress, liverworts, moss. Lean in and imagine you're carving a path through this inch-high holy grove, where distinctions collapse in the shifting light, where everything radiates everything else. The eddying pool on the shoulder of Ben Dorain is the pellucid music of a chorus of bells, weightless melody of water ringing out the silver tongues of countless burns, the larks and the wings of mining bees landing on yellow flowers, madrigals, vespers of the ben, the piper's ground, embellished and forever coming into being, land of ditch and dell, hump and hillock, pillar and precipice, ruffled as the sea, rough-coated as a stag, matted with shoots and pastures of grass, ganglia, cortex of steep tufted paths, and the noses, eyes, ears of the hill, tooth, talon, and wing, crosiers, spikelets, radicals, roots, the great breaths of day and night, blossoming, bud-bursting, flower-blushing hill, light-dappled, green-mantled, life-buzzing hill, from the heights of its slopes to the heart of its plains, this dear land is decked with riches, with branches, with creatures, with the world thrumming through it. Part 7, Web. With my feet and my lungs, I think the ground's contours, bare rock, high slopes, soft hollows, heather corries. The germinating hill murmurs gentleness to calves, to stags with their antlers hardening at bramble time. Ben Dorain, past and future mountain, cast your net of possible selves. On the sun-soaked southern flanks, the young hind and her echo-footed stag luxuriate, married by weather and world. Rock-face quartz, layers of schist, garnet, semi-pellite, the bedrock, the hidden heart, sedimentary, metamorphic. She's in her fertile prime, fat reserves for winter, glossy coat, calm temperament, breath of meadow grass and milkwort, bent grass, tufted hair grass, cotton grass, purple moor grass. This is heather corrie. Those who know it well love it in the ways of rowan, alder, ptarmigan. Fur on thorn, pellet of short-eared owl, rabbit skull, crumbling shieling wall. High on the ridge, the wind leans in and blows through fluted crevices, the chanter of the hill. Magpie moth, mountain ringlet, northern egger, northern dart, emperor moth, green tiger beetle, heath bumblebee, four-spotted chaser. The music of the wind gaps summons forth the lads of the glen, drawing them to the slopes where they know the herd will be, where their mortal songs ring out on gun barrel pipes. Sheep grazing, moor burning, barbed wire, soil erosion, railway curled round the western slopes, viaduct A82, estate roads, grouse butts, winter deer food, micronized wheat cubes, crane flies, sheep ticks, black slugs, deer flies, turbines, super quarries, pylons, hydro lochs, conifer forest, 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 conifer forest. What other wealth is there than that which is drawn forth by the dew, scents of dog rose and wild raspberry? Tormentil, bog asphodel, round-leaved sundew, starry saxifrage, roseroot, juniper, devil's bit scabious, thrift, 100 names, each one a narrative in bud. Crowberry, bell heather, butterwort, creeping azalea. The deer slopes teem with tender leaves, and we in turn draw our food from the teeming river, herding the night-fished ones by torch towards the great roaring, where pine sharp spears are held in grinning fists. Wildcat, grey wolf, pine marten, brown bear. In calm pools, the unhunted trout harvest flies and larvae, their flitting plenty. Litany, cartography, topogeny, potentiality, Darwin's entangled bank, McDermott's Scotland Small, Ruskin's Crossmount Studies, Blake's world in a grain of sand. You are more opulent than sea and wood. You are no wilderness. Part 8, Emergence. A Mergan, mythic bard who strode from coracle to shore, chanting the Celtic earth, its flowerings, fruitings, moltings, entangle us in the present of your song, the emergent world. I am the wind ranging over the sea. I am wave and ocean, climate systems. I am the charge in a circuit board. I am elm and heather, aspen, alder. I am hawkweed hybridizing. I am the root and arrow of the yew. I am hookworms, pinworms, whipworms, rhizomes, spores. I am herbivore and apex predator. I am the subsoil superstrings of honey fungus, the wood's leviathan. I am hazelnut and slowworm scales. I am rust on pit wheels and dockyard cranes. I am peregrines perching on a tower block roof. I am lace workers stitching in air. I am the hunter downwind among the rocks. I am the hind fearing footsteps on the wind, fearing bullets and blood and terror and dogs. It takes skill to stalk a deer, a flair for patience bordering on witchcraft. Earache from the winter wind, frozen hands that hold a gun for 3 hours as you wait for her to stand. I am the glacier of cloud flooding the glen. I am Pangea, Laurentia, Afro-Eurasia. I am the hyper-objectivity of the hill. She's alone. Approach her at the pace that eggshell thickens, that berries ripen among the thorns. Work your way through cover. If she's spooked, if she raises her head and you're not invisibly still, if she lowers her head again, but out of the corner of her eye, she sees you breathe. If she scents a single pheromone of you, she's gone. Do you take the land into yourself, or does the land receive you further into it? I am the world as sharp as an adder's tooth. Rethink knowledge, not information, not even sense data. Knowing the hill means prone legs drawn into the dampening earth. It means peat in your hair, your boots, your lungs. Negotiate each pit and fold, each clump, each tuft of grass. Your knee stiffens on cold stone. Heraclitus. Each individual thing comes out of the one, and the one comes out of each thing. You open door after door until you can go no further. Taste of bilberry and bracken. Memories of boulders, their angles of concealment. Cartography of clouds, shadows moving over the earth. Body and land, air and mind close on each other. Plant and human, stone and bird are one weave, one plaid. If you're humble, there's a chance that in spite of their best efforts, you will kill a deer. Fix your resolute, rewilded eye on a stag. Gather to you all your threads of instinct, experience, skill. Steer the long-barreled trickster, the glutton, coyote, raven, and bokken at the heart of the running mountain. Rest the inner joint of a finger on the trigger, mechanism poised to pounce, to lash out at your will. Yes, yours, dear reader, dear hunter for meaning, for order, prime mover, destroyer of worlds. The fresh flint in the hammer, the talon of the gun is about to strike the plate. The mountain draws its breath. The deer, the mice, the sphagnum draw breath. Teeming soil of beetles and bacteria. We are here in this place between one moment and the next. A fly is held mid-buzz. Antlers turn in the light. Sparks catch the crisp powder, nestled behind the shriveled tinder. They bring forth flames and a deadly hail, the song of my prima donna of the hills. She is an ardent messenger, a grave ambassador. Impact comes before she is heard. The bullet pierces hide and stomach, lung, shatters rib and shoulder, finds out every corner. One by one, each mystery of living matter is uncovered. Now, blood on heather. It seeps from the wounds of the long-limbed, nimble-mouthed, staggering children of the hills. Walk in again to where the hill first rises from the glen. This is not an image to admire from distance, a static scene to hang upon a wall. The herd lies down on the slopes around Willow Crag, the place that is their knowledge. Aesthetics, science, psychology, the great tradition of meadowgrass, deer path, wallow pool. To drive them from it is violence. You won't clear them from their learning without a show of force, the shaping of the land implied in landscape. What you need is a braying pack. For the hind, the only sound that matters now is neither wind nor pipes nor the melodies of birds, but the snarl of dogs. She is frenzied, shell-shocked. I am shantytown tarpaulin, the imprisoned child. I am the family burning in their Sutherland home. I am typewriters and bodies bulldozed into graves. And it's a thrill to those chaps who know their sport and still have all the virility of youth, who love the freedom of the hills, which they imagine are inert or all the same. Loudly the deer stir, sleepless the men chase. Guns are ready to bestow their gifts. With each man there's a dog, consumed by the duty and joy of the hunt, a swaggering warrior, powerful and potent, malicious and keen as a missile, impatient, surly, forbidding, boorish and sinister, yapping and yowling at the work he was bred for, brows bushy, jaws open, hackles erect. He quivers and shudders, his murder incarnate. The drive is a tidal wave, a headlong pursuit, unpredictable. Echoes bay for blood. The sons and daughters of the rock answer back with their baying. A shaggy-headed hound calls out. He forces the herd from their high heavens. Hooves try to fathom the depths of the hill, its hidden tracks, its shortcuts. But there are pools too deep for a deer to sound. A hind drags the torn gown of herself into the surge. She looks up into eyes other than her own. The pack charge on, and another hind is seized by the throat. Another and another, each in her own grief. Like a cliff-top stream falling into the sea. Like a spark thrown out from the peats to the stone hearth. Always the clamour of the hunt. There is too much. I can't give the deer all that is their due. I have tried, and now the words slip away. All that's left are the songlines of the hill, its typeface of lichen and stone, the semantics of the thousand tones of fast and deep and shallow burns. Water seeping into hoofprints, wind filling a raven's wings, wasps chewing bark from the heather, a hare pressing into moss, a moth settling on a leaf, the breathing shapes of deer.